arms to get the whole.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay.
Okay.
All right, for real. All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Tri-State Fitness. Today, we're here with Molly, the lady behind the camera. We're going to let you kind of get to know her a little bit before we kind of get into today's skills and drills, which will be going over the squat, air squat, fast feet, air squat, back squat, front squat, goblet squat.
Side squat.
I feel like Forrest Gump when he's got that friend, Bubba.
Shrimp.
And he talks about shrimp.
All the variations.
All the variations of
Bowl
squat.
shrimp.
We're going
Front squat, back squat, squat with weight, squat without
Bulgarian
weight,
squat,
Bulgarian
split
split
squat.
Squat.
Zercher squat,
I feel like there's lots of squats, but we'll cover the basics.
overhead squat.
Overhead squat, how could I forget? But first, I'm JT, as usual. You got Joshua here in the house, and then Molly, she's normally behind the camera. We brought her out from behind the camera to bring her in front of the camera. All right, but first, we're going to kind of get to know her a little bit. So Molly, welcome to in front of the camera.
Okay, thanks.
Dun, dun, dun.
Great to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. So tell us a little about yourself. We know that you've been here at Fit Factory for quite a while. So how long have you been here at Fit Factory?
I have been here for 2 years. Started training here about a year ago. And
Training as in coaching.
yes,
There it
coaching
is.
for about a year. Working out here for 2.
Cool.
So what was your life like before? What was your life like before Fit Factory?
For us.
Before Fit Factory, what was your life like? What was your sport?
I was an athlete in high school, and for about 8 years I played volleyball. Post high school, going on to college, I tried to stay active, but was never doing anything like this, and missed that team element. And then moved to Nashville, and a couple of years after I moved here, was still trying to stay active, but was missing just the good workout, good solid workout. Found Fit Factory, a friend recommended it, and I have been here ever since.
Who recommended it, by the way?
First person to recommend it was Jamie Millsap.
Oh, okay. Okay, we know the
And it
Millsap.
took me about 2 years to get here. So
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
I got here and never left.
All right. Well, we're happy to have you.
Yeah.
Well, cool, guys. We're going to go over the squat. Like we said today, we're going to start with the air squat and the goblet squat. Molly's going to be our demo girl as we go through this. But first, we talk a lot about the squat during class, or maybe if you take any of our classes, we talk about it a little bit. We say hips go back and down, weights hitting the heels, drop the knees out. But let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of good squats. So I'm going to first turn you to the side, and I'm going to have her do just 3 good squats, because Molly's got the best squat in the world, right? So we're going to have her do a couple of good squats here. Good. Now, a couple of things that you want to make sure of that when we go down to the squat is we don't want to do what they call knee initiation, where the knee shoots out first. Can you shoot your knee out first before you go down? You're coming up on your toes, you're doing it wrong. Yeah, trying to do something wrong, so really go down, 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 down. See how far the knees come up? Now our heels are up off the ground. That's what we call knee initiation. Everybody says, oh, my knees hurt when I squat. This is more than likely what's happening. Those knees are getting thrown out in front first, and that's really uncomfortable. You're going to see on up. So the first thing we got want to make sure of is that the hips are going back and down. There we go. That way the weight is heavy in the heels. Now, when I say back and down, imagine you're going to see on up. Imagine you had like, I don't know, a lasso or something around your waist. You have straight back here, and they're pulling you back and down. That's the kind of angle that we want when we're going back down to the squat. Now, next is the torso staying as upright as possible. Now, we know that's a lot of range of motion, and flexibility goes into that. So let's see what that range of motion where the chest is collapsing for, oh yes, this is great. So now, if we try to do anything other than air squat, say a back squat, we can get pinned down. Front squat, we're not going to be able to hold the weight in front of us. And overhead squat will be really, really hard because the arms and the weight will be way out here. So if we go ahead and stand on up, now try to keep that torso up as tall as possible. Good, and now that's better. Or if a bar was here, it should be more stable, especially in the front right position, and even overhead should be more stable that way too. But that's a couple tips there on the air squat. I'm going to bring Joshua in if he's got any other stuff that he wants to go over with you guys as well.
Yeah, so JT just went over kind of just basic squat 101. So let's get a little bit more in depth biomechanically. So some things that we're feeling, he talked about knee shooting over toe. Now I'm going to turn Molly to the front. So now we're going to change the angles a little bit. She's going to squat down, but this is a poor squat. Her knees are going to valgus in, so her knees are going to just buckle in. As she comes up, her knees are going to buckle in, and she's going to stand up. And so just keep repeating that. Now after limited time, once we start adding load to a movement that's not biomechanically sound, all that pressure is going to go to those tendons, not to those quads and glutes and hammies where we want those things. So how do you fix that? So a lot of coaches will say, hey, drive your knees out. Well, what does that mean? We don't mean, hey, drive your knees out, do this, right? Because we still want that foundation that we started with of feet shoulder width. We want to sit back on our heels, weight midfoot to heel. But what I'm looking for is that external rotation of that femur. We talk about that a lot in that mobility for that hip capsule, right? So you want to externally rotate those femur, so almost corkscrewing that femur in the ground. So as we squat, our knees will flow outside our hip line. So now I'm trying to think in my head, I'm getting my glutes and hamstrings to engage as quickly as possible as I'm coming in and out of the squat. Now every variation of the squat is going to be just like that. So squat down again, really focus. And I guarantee you from the get-go, even just the air squat, she can feel that flex all the way through the whole movement. Good, back up, good. Okay, now let's go overhead squat. So we haven't even talked about overhead squat yet. So everything's the same, right? As long as she's keeping good posture up and she has good ankle and hip mobility, she can still maintain that exterior rotation. So go ahead and go back. Good, now arms overhead. Good, relax. So still she has great mobility. Things we see as coaches, if you turn back to the side, if we're limited on hip mobility and we're still shooting forward on the toes and her hips just can't sink down in that hole and she has a butt wink, right? Her hips are tucking underneath, or the opposite. She has lordosis under her spine. Anything like that can change us up. So that's where it gets a little tricky with coaching. We have to try to find some variation. We might limit you on your depth. Say, hey, we're not ready. We don't have mobility. So I just want you to go right above parallel right now. Good, right back up. So we might limit you, okay? So don't get offended if the coach ever tells you, hey, for right now, during a workout, we're going to limit your range of motion, but we need to work on some hip mobility, some calf, ankle mobility, things like that that can help clear out those joints to help us get proper depth. But always be thinking about in a squat, hey, what muscles am I working? If you're ever squatting, just bounce out of the hole for me, Molly, as fast as you can. She's just kind of bouncing out of the hole. Nothing's really flexed. She's using what's called stretch reflex. So he's actually bouncing off of a tendon instead of engaging those glutes like we want. So think about that every time you squat. What muscles am I working? And that's not any lift, really. I want to be flexed the whole time, every rep, not just banging out 47 air squats and just hoping that you're going to bounce out. And when you get done, your hips and your knees are going to, man, my knees are kind of tired. Well, you weren't really flexing and contracting those quads and glutes. You're using those tendons. So again, those are advanced things, but it all starts with the air squat like JT was talking about. Cool. Come on.
All right, guys, we're going to go on right to the goblet squat, which is another variation we use a lot. But it's kind of a good scaled version of maybe a front squat because we're going to have a weight now in front of us. So we're going to hold a kettlebell here in kind of like a front position, which is very similar to like a barbell where we hold it in a front rack position so the weight's going to be on the front of us instead of like a back squat where it's more in line with our body. So I'm going to grab a kettlebell here from Molly. And she's going to hold that in a goblet squat or a goblet position where the hands are in the kind of horns. And then she's going to send those hips again back and down, weights heavy in the heels, and then drop those knees and come back up. Now I'm going to turn it to the side. So now that the weight is in front of the body, it's really going to want to pull her forward. So she's got to really fight to keep that chest upright and tall as she goes down. Go ahead and give me 3 good squats. Good. To keep that chest upright as it goes down. And then go ahead and relax for a second. Now, one thing that we kind of talked about, it gets more and more important as we get into heavier lifts or we start squatting a little bit heavier, is bracing around the midline. Okay, now during an air squat, there's not too much bracing that needs to go on because the weight's not too heavy. But if you're starting to do back squats, even goblet squats, or especially front squats, this midline has got to be tight. You see people throw belts on, and that's all good and everything, but are we braced without the belt? Can we squat without the belt and have that good midline stability? So if she comes up to that goblet position again, she's going to make sure, yeah, right there is fine. She's going to make sure that everything's squeezed in here is tight. The belly is flexed, right? The back is flat as she goes down. Now, again, this is a little bit lighter weight, so she doesn't have to really focus on it too terribly much, but she wants to make sure that that core is engaged as she goes down into that squat, and then especially drive back up. Now, on breathing, we talk about breathing a lot. You're inhaling at the top, kind of holding everything in, bracing against the core, the abdomen, and everything like that. You breathe and you hold in as you go down, especially in something heavy, and then on the way up, that's when you exhale. Don't try to breathe in while you're coming up. It's not going to end very well at all, okay? Just put it out there for you. But that's the goblet squat. We'll go over it and we'll demo maybe like a back squat, front squat, and maybe some other stuff too.
All right, guys, so back squats. If you could choose one lift through the rest of your life, it should be back squats. It would. It should be back squats. King of all lifts, okay? It involves every muscle in your body. Your brain goes crazy trying to adapt to this motion. So we're going to take Molly. She's just going to start with the bar. So we're going to talk about hand width and grip, even setup. Let's start from the bottom. All right. So the knurling on the bar, especially with the Oly bar, since there is no center knurling, we got to make sure our hands are the correct distance apart. We kind of like that shoulder width right outside that shoulder for your grip. She's going to walk underneath. Now, as a spotter, if she was uneven, I would definitely say, hey, center yourself up. We don't want to be lopsided on the bar. Now, from the point of contact with the bar, once I am set on the bar, I want to lock myself in there. I don't want that thing moving anywhere. All I want to focus on is my squat, my stance, my glutes, everything engaged on my legs, my core tight, everything went over with the air squat, so I don't want to have to worry about this load on my back. So once I set it, set the bar on that trap line. Let's not set it on that bone on your spine. Set it across those big, nice traps, a little bit on that rear delt, and she's going to wedge herself on the bar. Now once you're set, she's going to stand up, walk a baby step out, and stay close to that rack. If you're walking 17 steps out and you have about 80-90%, you're going to risk wasting a lot of energy while walking 4 miles out of the rack. So stay close to your rack. All right, so once she's set up here, everything's tight, she's locked in, everything's flexed. This is a big advantage for your upper back strength to hold a heavy load on top. Because yes, you are getting a lot of upper body strength from holding a load, keeping it stationary in place. That bar is not rolling down her back. That takes upper body strength as well. All right, so now everything that we just went over correlates the exact same, yes, the exact same with a back squat. Now we're just adding load. We're adding a load to our spine. So everything's the same. Pushing off weight heel to midfoot. She's going to externally rotate. She's going to posture up. Talk about breathing like JT talked about. She's going to compress her spine, flex those abs. She's going to go ahead and squat down and right back up. Now go ahead and sit down and hold. Down, hold. Good. Hold. So we can notice here as a coach, if she was having problems with this spine load, she might round out her back a little bit. So roll your back forward. She might round out a little bit. Might start pitching her forward. And then her hips will shoot up first. Her butt will shoot up first, and then she has to use her back to back out of it. So these are some things we notice as coaches. You probably even feel as an athlete of coach, my back is getting fried. Every time I squat, I'm squatting down and my butt's shooting up and I'm having to back out. Well, one, that lets me know your bar position might be off. We might need to strengthen these erectors right here. But probably posture and foot stance and everything we went over for the basics, we might need to cue those a little bit better just to make sure our posture's up. So big focus as she goes down course, everything similar. Chest and shoulders rise together, up and full extension. Again, glutes, glutes, glutes. You should feel those glutes, the whole range of motion, all the way down, all the way up. Now we talked about feet as well. There's so many different schools of thought. Should my feet be out? Should my feet be neutral? Should my feet be in? Okay? I'm not going to tell you what's right or wrong. I would say as a coach, I always try to gear people towards one, what's comfortable for you, what's safe for you. I personally like that shoulder width stance. My toes and knees are in alignment. Biomechanically, everything's in alignment. We want those straight lines from those hips, knees to toes, okay? If I'm out here, that's not a good biomechanically sound squat for me, okay? So I'm going to have slight pitch out, drive my knees out, externally rotate, anything for my stance to keep all my muscles engaged at the same time. Again, I can't emphasize thinking about glutes on this, because a lot of times as lifters, we just kind of bounce out of the hole, so give me those fast bouncing reps. When you got somebody really good mobility, they go below parallel, they bounce out of the bottom, they get a butt wink, and they stretch reflex and bounce out. But we want is full contraction through every rep. So she's going to externally rotate, control, down, right back up, control, all the way back up. Okay? Good. And wrap it. Cool. Just basic, guys. Very simple stuff, some small things. Yes, I know there's 8 million different things to talk about. We didn't even talk about low bar squatting. Just a simple glance at what a weighted back squat can look like and how those little small things to think about. Stance, rotation, core, exterior rotation of the femurs to get that glute to jump in there, not just squat. Cool.
All right, guys, so now we're going to work on the front squat. Now, we're not going to go into too much detail on actually squatting with it, since a lot of the squats are very similar, from the air squat, goblet squat, even the back squat. But the front squat, the position is going to be a little bit different on where that bar is going to be resting. It's going to be resting on the shoulders here, and then how to kind of make sure that stays as comfortable as can be, because it can be a very uncomfortable position with the bar. So first, we want to make sure that we get on the bar correctly. So first, we want to make sure our hand position is good. I always like to grab the knurling with my thumbs and just make sure that I'm even grip there. And then I'm going to take those elbows up under the bar as high as I can. Now, a couple of things. Now, she's got a great front rack position. Go ahead and stand on up with it. Cool. And just step back just a little bit. Perfect. So this is a good front squat position. Elbows and, I mean, honestly, the lower part of the arm here is parallel with the ground. So it's really, really good front rack position. The lower these elbows drop, the harder that bar is going to get to hold. Because right now, if the elbows are high, it's literally just resting on her shoulders here. If she was to, I'm going to test you, can you take your fingers off the bar? Yep. Okay, so the bar is just magically resting here on the shoulders, which is where we want it. The hands are really there for kind of balance and stability. Now the tricky part, can you get your hands back under it? Ah, there we go. So that's kind of really what we want. We want those elbows high enough and those arms up enough that we can get in that front rack position, what we call a front rack position, which is right here. Now, if you over grip the bar, okay, so say go ahead and grab the bar, death grip it. Notice the elbows dropped a little bit already. If the elbows drop even more, you're now holding that weight in front of your body, which is really, really, really tough. Especially when you go to squat, it's going to pull you forward. So we got to learn to loosen that grip up, bite those elbows up. I even sometimes will take just the 2 fingers and just have a couple fingers on, yeah, something like that. That's how I normally front squat with it, just so I can get those elbows up even higher and have that good front rack position. And then that way, also, it's not killing my wrist by having all those fingers up under the bar. Now, a couple things, you can go back to however you like to hold it. A couple other things too on the front rack position. If I tell you what, go ahead and rack it for a second. Now, if I was to have just the bar, you can see me just kind of to the side of the bar. Actually, I'm gonna come over here, make sure everybody can see. So if I just had my hands or my elbows up, see where my hands are? My hands are almost behind my neck. Okay. Now I know what you're saying. Like, hey, if there's a bar here, the bar's gonna be in my throat. And yes, that's the case. But now, if I push my elbows to the wall in front of me, see how my hands slide out now in front of my neck? So from here to here is a huge difference. So if I'm trying to hold a front rack position like this, my hands are behind me, it's not possible to get that bar through my neck. So then I gotta shoot those elbows out just a little bit to give me a little space here in that front rack position. So that's very, very important that we get that kind of push out, and then that way we got room to rest that bar right there on the shoulders. But guys, mainly that's the front rack position. If you're having issues with it, there's a couple things. A lot of people try to stretch the shoulders out, but a lot of times it's the lats. These are right under here. The big muscles right under your armpit there. If those are tight, imagine if you just pulled your shirt really tight here and try to raise your arm, well, your shirt's not gonna move. Same thing with your muscles. If those muscles are tight and you try to raise your elbow, it's not gonna go anywhere. So we gotta kind of loosen everything up. Yes, we'll work on shoulder mobility. Yes, we'll work on hand and wrist mobility, but also get those lats loosened up too. You'll learn kind of once you get that going, that loosened up, maybe the triceps a little bit, you'll have a better front rack position. But guys, I think that finishes up with our squats. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please message us or write us on the YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks.